2. I'm so excited you're here. We're going to be talking about establishing a strong foundation for coaching, specifically developing and applying a coaching mindset and coaching standards and what that exactly looks like. So here's what we're going to be talking about in this module. First, we're going to talk about the coaching conversation and how and why to create inspired conversations that move people forward. Inspired being the key word. We're going to talk about the power of asking versus telling and why asking is so much more effective for personal growth, leadership, and success. Then we're going to talk about self-management, how to keep yourself from talking too much so you can let the coaching process work. We'll talk a bit more about confidentiality, exactly what you must keep under wraps and when confidentiality does not apply. And then we'll talk about establishing and keeping agreements, all right? So let's go ahead and dive in to lesson number 1. So the lesson number 1 is how and why to create inspiring conversations. So there is a great deal of power in the inspired conversation. And the most important thing to remember is that in the coaching conversation, there is a great deal of power in helping to keep your client grounded in their vision and their values. Our vision is what inspires us. It is that painted picture of a given point in the future that we're aiming for. And a really powerful vision will actually pull you forward. So rather than having to push yourself to get things done, having to figure out how to keep yourself motivated, when you have a really powerful vision, you don't have to get yourself motivated. You are naturally motivated to be able to move forward. So the power of vision and values is really helping them tap into where they want to go, what they most are hoping for, and it needs to be based on what matters most to them. When I say what matters most, I'm talking about their values. So where they want to go, a lot of times that might seem clear or they might give you an idea. But as a coach, you want to begin asking them questions that really helps to pull out what they're hoping for. Hope is really, really important when it comes to helping people get clear about what would excite them, what would inspire them. Oftentimes when we're hoping for something, we might even question or doubt whether or not it's possible. But as a coach, if you can help them articulate and admit what they're hoping for, that's like gold. That's where you're tapping into what will really inspire them, what really is the dream for them, what really does matter. And the values piece is what matters. It is what is important. It is kind of a why behind what it is that they're wanting. So as the coach, you want to help your client as often as possible to recall their vision and their values. It's very easy to get into a conversation and a person just starts immediately talking about the problem they're facing that they want to solve. And it can be very easy to then just focus in on the problem. They start talking about the problem, you start digging in more to the problem. But at some point, it's really important to step back and get clarity about the overall vision, because the problem may need to be solved, but the bigger vision helps put the problem into perspective. So you may have a client come to your session talking about something that's going on with their boss. And maybe there's a communication issue they're really frustrated about. And maybe that communication issue just blew up in a meeting. So this feels front of mind for your client. And when they get to the session, that's what they are focused on. But the bigger question is, what is the vision for how they want to feel at work, how they want to make an impact at work, and how is this problem in the way, or what is the message or the lesson this problem is offering, especially if it's a problem that recurs over and over and over again. So when you help them recall their vision, they may realize, well, you know what, My vision actually, as I first came to my coaching sessions, my vision actually is to make a shift or a change. Perhaps it's out of that department. Perhaps it is a bigger vision for moving out of corporate America altogether, or there is a new type of organization they'd like to work with that lines up with their values more. And so when they begin to look at that vision, the problem actually shrinks, because what they realize is that their energy needs to be focused on the bigger vision. And the problem might just be confirmation of the fact that they need to be taking steps towards that bigger vision rather than getting caught up in the problem. So anytime we help a client remember what the bigger vision is, we help them to put any challenges they're facing into perspective. It may be a situation where they begin looking at that problem and it really is something that they need to resolve once and for all. Or they may discover, this really isn't as big of a deal as it feels today, because something just happened that is causing me to bring this into my coaching session right now. But as the coach, you understand that your clients are hiring you for more than just solving little problems and fires that need to be put out from day to day. They're hiring you as their coach because they've got a bigger vision of where they're wanting to go. And your job is to hold that vision in front of them, to keep them reminded of that vision so that they can look up from the obstacles that are right in front of them, that they feel compelled and tempted to just stare at, and to look up to the vision of where they're going. So the vision becomes a compass for navigating obstacles, but it also does something else that is extremely, extremely important. And this taps into some of the research from positive psychology, and that's this. Whenever a person taps into their vision, it produces a level of positive emotion, because the vision is energizing. The vision is exciting. The vision is a positive, facing forward, looking forward to something bigger and even more important to them. Here's why that matters. Positive emotion energizes you. Positive emotion, the research shows, actually expands your ability to deal with adversity and with stress. When we have positive emotion, the physiological changes when we feel positive emotion, the rush that we get to our brains actually helps us to set bigger goals. It helps us make bigger decisions because it broadens our scope of thinking. So when we are experiencing positive emotion, we actually see more options. We are actually in a better state of mind to be coached. So when you help them recall their vision, it not only helps to bring them to a wider perspective for looking at the challenges that are in front of them right now, but it actually produces the kind of positive emotion that energizes them to move forward, that helps them to persevere and to sustain the consistency that's needed to reach the goal. So one of the reasons that we want to make sure as coaches that we help the client remember their vision and their values is because when they're remembering their vision and values, it is literally lifting them. It's taking them to a higher place. It's helping them to see things in a better light and to make better decisions and to focus better. So don't get caught up too much in the problems that a client might bring to a session because they feel like you can help them solve them. Help them connect those problems to the bigger vision of where they're headed. And then secondly, as I said, it's not just vision, but it's also values. And we're going to dive a bit more into values when we talk about goal setting. But for now, here's what I want you to remember. Values are what are important to a person. When you're clear about the values that you have and the values that you want to express in your everyday life, then as you are facing opportunities, you can say, does this line up with my values? Or how could this better reflect my values? This is key because when you have these conversations around vision and values, they're going to feel natural to your client. They are going to feel heard. They are going to realize that they're talking about what is meaningful. And when something feels meaningful, we are far more likely to stick with it. It means it has purpose. It means we are understanding the why behind our goals and behind our vision. So vision and values, I want you to start with those two, because every client will have some sort of a vision. It's why they want to coach. And every client will often struggle with keeping that vision at the forefront. So one of the things you want to always do as a coach is hold the vision for your client, even when they forget what it is. They need you for that. Life is busy. It can be overwhelming. There's so much to keep track of. But imagine you have a person always in your corner, reminding you, holding that vision up like a mirror that says, hey, here's where you said you wanted to go, and I want to help you get there. Are you on track right now? So, one, you want to make sure that you're keeping vision and values, but two, in having a strong foundation for your coaching practice, you want to make sure that your questions are forward focused, that as the client starts looking backwards, and it's only natural sometimes for us to do this, especially when perhaps we've made mistakes in the past or things haven't gone as planned, and we still have hopes for what it could be, but we keep thinking about what was or what wasn't. You want to focus your client forward. So clients naturally will focus backwards because it's familiar. It's what we know. And we talk about what we know, right? But the client can also focus backwards because they have regrets. And so when we have regrets, oftentimes we can rehearse those regrets. We can beat ourselves up for those regrets, and you may find them doing that in the coaching conversation. But when we look backwards, when we focus backwards, often we're also justifying. We may be justifying why things are the way they are, or why they need to stay the way they need to stay, right? They don't really need to stay that way, but we're justifying why things happen to be where they are. And sometimes we're trying to justify the fact that we haven't even moved forward. So clients will often focus backwards again because it's just familiar. But when they get stuck talking about the problem, talking about what happened in the past, don't allow that to kind of drag you into a looking back habit. You want to listen because you want them to feel heard, and then you want to start asking them forward-focused questions about where they want to go. So when they're talking too much about what they don't want, you might say something like, let me stop you for a minute. So at this point, what is it that you want? This automatically forces them to look forward. It forces them to stop rehearsing or ruminating on what's not right in their situation, or what they're sick and tired of in their situation, what's frustrating to them. And it refocuses them on what might be the solution to this. If this is what I don't want, what is it that I want? What are they willing to do differently? This is a forward focus. So it's going to happen almost in every conversation at some point. But you're going to begin asking those questions that move them forward. So, what do you want to do differently? What do you want? What's the message for you in whatever the situation is they're describing? What's the message for you as you move forward? What's the lesson that you're going to take with you from that? How do you want to apply that lesson to move closer to your vision? You see how, as a coach in that conversation, unlike just a regular everyday friendship conversation or, coworker conversation where there's complaining or talking and rehashing a problem, as the coach, you do listen to that problem because you're listening to what all the different elements are. But then your job is helping them to focus forward, because again, coaching is about where are you now and where is it that you're wanting to go? We're not going to stay stuck in the past. We're going to tap into a sense of empowerment that says, I am looking for a solution. I'm not just rehashing problems. So an inspired conversation is forward focused first and foremost. It is about helping them stay clear and not just stay clear, but stay focused on their vision, on their values, and not getting stuck in what's wrong. So lesson number 1, to keep your conversation inspiring for the client, keep them forward focused, make sure you hold that vision for them, and help them tap into their values. What really matters for them? Why is this meaningful? Because anytime you're able to do that, not only are you going to tap into the power of their perseverance because they understand why they're doing what they're doing, but you're also going to help lift them to a place of positive emotion, which broadens their scope of thinking and helps them to set goals and stick with goals over time.